All right, we should be live. And as always, anybody that's hanging out in the YouTube chat already this morning, give me a yay or a nay on the audio, both my audio and everyone else's audio, because my audio is on a different stream than the rest of the group here. So hope everyone's having a, yep. Yeah, give us a sound check there. There you go. Sure. We're going to be here for a couple hours, so. All right. Well, assuming audio is working, I'm going to have to wait a few more seconds. Audio is good. All right. Appreciate that. And we actually haven't had any audio issues on any of these streams lately. You remember, some of you guys may have been around, 4, 5, 6 years ago. When we first started doing these, it seemed like we had issues every stream. Sometimes we'd start 10, 15 minutes late. Sometimes we'd start half an hour late just because of all the audio issues. But these days, we really don't run into that problem like we used to. No. Man, it was so frustrating. Yeah, like it was frustrating to the point where I was like, man, we should just quit doing these streams because they were so bad. Yeah, hold on just a second, guys. They can't hear you guys. Let me make sure. Yep, that's my fault because I was recording some videos yesterday. And the way I have OBS set up, I record everything on different streams. Now, all of our audio streams should be on the same stream. So,
okay,
yeah, continue, Hamid.
Yeah, I remember back in time, like plus 4 or 5 years ago, that you had this problem. I remember we switched from Zoom to some open source.
Yeah, we switched from Zoom to Jitsi.
Yeah, Jitsi, yeah, I remember that.
And then when Jitsi, what was the problem with Jitsi? Jitsi required logins.
Yeah, the logins
yeah, which was not a problem, I wouldn't think, but the network I was on, I don't know if there was some weird networking issue with this office, but I could not actually log in through Google with Jitsi or whatever. They offered like 3 different things. I think you could log in with Google, Facebook, GitHub, and none of them would allow me to log in.
Yeah, I think the problem was that we were on the free hosted Jitsi server. We didn't have a dedicated one, so it was hard for you to log in there.
Yeah, because Jitsi now allows to be self-hosted.
Yeah, well, it did back then, but I mean, even just using it on their servers, they switched to where if you wanted to host a chat, you needed to log in.
Yeah.
Which was not a problem if the login worked. It just, for whatever reason, it was broken at the time, so we switched back to Zoom just because.
No, they had the SSO issues, so you couldn't actually log in.
Yeah, there's that. But Zoom so far has been great.
I mean, Zoom has gotten a lot better than when we tried it years ago, too. I mean, Zoom was kind of buggy, too.
And now you're paying for it, right?
Well, I've been paying for it for years, even way back in the day, because Zoom only allows you to be on a call for, I think, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
you need to pay for longer.
If it's just you and one other person, I think you can go longer, but the minute like 3 people join, I think you're on a timer or something.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been paying Zoom a few bucks a month, really since the channel started.
Yeah,
and not just for this, because sometimes people will want to chat with me, people will want to do collaborations on their channel. So many people use Zoom. It's nice to have the subscription anyway. Just
at least Zoom is backed by a corporation. They have the servers for it.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, the great thing about these kinds of chat clients to these video conferencing pieces of software like Jitsi and Zoom and many other things is they're built on really good technology, which is Electron.
Yeah.
What? Nobody's gonna back me up on that. So.
No, I mean,
is it built on Electron or is it?
Yeah, Electron. No.
Yeah, it's an Electron app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that soured you on Zoom, didn't it, Steve? You're disappointed now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of these are all these web conferencing pieces of software. They're all built on Electron, which makes sense. They need to be web apps.
Yeah,
Guys, I made two changes.
Yeah, like Cosmic, which we'll get into later, but Cosmic has a dedicated app for web apps.
Mm-hmm.
It's not integrated yet into the DE. It's set up as an extra Cosmic util that you have to compile and install. But it will be part of Cosmic in the future. But for now, they're testing it because it's rebuilt from scratch using Rust, of course.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room before we continue with the episode. I'm gonna start off by saying, with permission from DT, thank you, Derek, for this, because it's very important that I get the message across. It's just that I don't know if any of your viewers has seen your community post, but
well, if they're subscribed enough to have gotten the notification for this stream, then yeah, they would have all seen it.
Yeah, because I didn't see a lot of interaction on it. Just 2 people.
Yeah, which like 95% don't do that.
Yeah. So
well, to be honest, Steve, it's like a Linux technology kind of channel.
Yeah.
And that kind of post, most people are just gonna pass it by and give it no attention.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm saying it in the beginning of the show, but since not many people watched till the end, I thought I would start off, and it's not going to be all about me. So don't worry, this episode's not going to be all about me. I just wanted to spread the word and awareness that we are going through extremely tough times. I don't know if you saw the news, but the country is completely Beirut basically has been almost leveled to the ground, most of it, because it's a war. That's what wars do. But the problem for me is that the result of the war, I lost a friend, a dear friend and a colleague, who has been part of XeroLinux consistency plan for the past 3 years. And to say I'm heartbroken is not enough words, but he was just a 19-year-old kid. So his loss will be felt for a while. And the situation currently is unknown. So we don't know if it's going to get better, when, how. And for me I can no longer flee the country because they canceled all the flights. So other than finding a hole somewhere to hide in, there's nothing else I can do. But with your support, I can go inland, further inland, rent a hotel somewhere and hide there. So I don't know if DT will include the link in the description to the support campaign. But if you can help, please do so. I could really use it right now, because the situation is developing to, like yesterday they leveled down a 6-building compound. So that's how my friend passed away. He was living near it. So him and his sister. So we lost 2 people in one go. So if you can help, if you can find it in your heart to help out, lend out a helping hand, there will be a link in the description, hopefully, to the campaign. And that's it. I just need to make sure I'm safe and the family is safe during those hard times, and that's all. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and whoever will help out.
No worries, man. We all wish you all the best and in the safe. But anyway, you said you want to come to UK?
No, I can't go anywhere. The flights are completely all canceled.
Anyway, that you can flow. Yeah, the airport is gone though.
There are no boats. The only boats that go from here are to Cyprus. And they're extremely expensive right now, because they're taking the opportunity to triple and quadruple they're benefiting from the situation. basically.
Yeah,
So,
I'm on board. I'm gonna help you. I'll be in the same situation someday.
Yeah. Thank you all, and let's make this episode a little bit more happy, on a happier note, which is Cosmic DE. Let's have fun talking about that. Why don't we?
Well, I haven't tried it out, so you might be the only one talking about that, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
It's I'll put it this way. The DE itself is amazing. I hate window managers, and a lot of people who know me know that fact. I hate WMs. Window managers, for me, are the devil's creation. That's my personal opinion of them. That shouldn't be. I'm not trying to convince anyone that they are. But
careful with your voice.
No, but Cosmic DE made me fall in love with tiling. Why? Because it's a DE first with optional tiling. It's not forcing tiling on me. So, and they're doing it so good that, and they give you the option for, when in window managers, when you switch between windows, the cursor follows the active window. Cursor follows whatever you switch to. I hate that. And there's
most of it. A lot of them are customizable. It's you can change that behavior, but yeah, a lot of them default to that
but
behavior.
Nobody offers you an easy way to do that. You have to do it either via config files, or there is no GUI to configure it.
A file, yeah.
So in Cosmic DE, it's right there in the settings. Disable it, turn off the thing. Yep. You're done. So that's why I find Cosmic as my second most loved desktop environment now.
Behind GNOME?
No, behind DE, KDE. But and it's very performance is amazing. The performance is amazing. I installed it yesterday on a very old laptop. It flies faster than KDE. So, but it still needs a lot of work. Like Cosmic Files bugs out like there's no tomorrow. Whenever you single click a file or a folder, it opens the details pane. Shift delete doesn't do anything, and if you cut a file to move it into a different location, it doesn't work. It errors out, and sometimes it causes files to crash. So there's a lot of bugs. It's still
still beta. I mean, it's
alpha, not even beta.
Yeah, I mean,
same
thing. Yeah, right. It's not for public consumption just yet.
Yeah, but it's shaping up to be something awesome.
Right.
I have it installed on bare metal. Like if I reboot,
they're going to get all that fixed. Some of the bugginess, they're going to, once they get all the bugs fixed, it'll be. And you're talking about performance too. It's all that Rust that they're using, right? Yeah. It's Rust going to make it faster. Right? Yeah. Just rewrite everything in Rust.
Yeah, well, it's not Rust that's making it faster. I don't think it's how they handle everything. The thing that surprises me is everything in Cosmic is its separate process. You got the panel; it's its own process. You got the applets; each applet is its own process. The dock is its own process. It's a sub process of panel. Everything you open files is its own separate process. Everything is its own separate process.
But isn't that the way everything? I mean, pretty much. That's the way it's always been. Is everything's its own process.
I don't know really, but it's.
I mean, I'm not that close following the way GNOME does things, but pretty much everything else, like every panel, the widgets in the panel, everything's its own process that you could.
But what surprises me is with the number of processes running, it still is faster than KDE.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. I don't know how they pulled that off. And on Nvidia, I'm gonna mention the biggest thing here because I know there'll be those Nvidia haters saying, "Oh, Wayland, Nvidia, No, I'm using an Nvidia GPU, and it's before installing the GPU drivers, it was shit. It wouldn't render. It wouldn't render the icons. So after installing the driver, now it's flawless. Not even a single error. Not a single crash.
Well, the people that complain about Nvidia and Wayland, they're usually talking about all the other desktops and window managers, but GNOME, like GNOME and Nvidia, which Pop OS and Cosmic's based on GNOME. a lot of the same underlying technology. Yeah, I would expect it to be fine on that.
Yeah,
it's everything else where Nvidia on Wayland is just garbage.
Yeah, you guys know that Nvidia free open source lead developer is hired by Nvidia. So
yeah.
Nvidia is a friend now. So
yeah,
no worries about Nvidia.
There's that too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest, the like the Nouveau devs, Nvidia should just pay those guys and they should be part of the company.
Yeah, I mean, I had like one of the latest laptop with the Nvidia card on it.
Mm-hmm.
For the first 2 weeks, I went through the hell. I told you guys, I finally end up with the FreeBSD, and then I get back to the Debian as I do, like I get back to distro always Debian testing, and then I went to, and I found it that how easy became having a Linux as a desktop OS, as a laptop OS for almost everything, like especially with the current wave of having everything hosted on web. Like one of my main issues always with Linux, to be honest, is that I grown with the Adobe Photoshop. I grown with it. Like I know GIMP is there. I know we have like 4 or 5 different tools to compensate. But Photoshop is Photoshop for me. I've grown with it, like from the first version to current version. And right now, having whole Adobe product, especially the Photoshop on the web, it means a lot to me. Like I freely switch between distros, not concerning anything about not having access to my Adobe product, anything else.
You also now have, if you are if you prefer things like Photoshop, there's something called Affinity now, that somebody wrote a script that allows you to run it via a custom wine on Linux, and I've been using that over Photo.
Yeah, I know Wine. I know that script. I know Wine, but one thing I hate always is to mix environments. Like I never use Wine. I don't like it.
I quit using Wine like 15 years ago because it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I got to the point where it's either on Linux or it's not. Like trying to run things through Wine is not the answer.
Yeah.
Well, other than games.
The games. Tell me about that. Like the only game I cannot play at the moment, which is not the game fault, is anti-cheat fault. The shitty anti-cheat we have on the market, like is a Call of Duty. Otherwise, any game, you name it, any game can perform at least between 5 to 20 FPS better on Linux.
They can't. That's such bullshit. I hate people who say that because they never actually really played and really watched, because that's not true and will never be true. That
I play lots of games. I play lots of games. I play lots of games.
I play lots
have
of
a gaming
games,
laptop.
and I actually went and actually measured this. I actually went and
play games on occasion.
I almost forgot the Mr. Negative is here. So hello,
I just came by to say hi. I'm not gonna stay long, but
I
actually went and measured.
You came by to say I'm
performance.
He's just doing a drive-by.
Measured.
Yeah, a drive-by, and that's a quite a drive-by. That hurts.
And simple reality, that is not true and cannot be true. And it is logical why it cannot be true, because you're doing...
I don't care about the logical. I'm playing all of my games on the Windows and as well as on the Linux. I get at least between 5 to 20 per second more performance on Linux. There is no way that you can convince me, because I have a hardware and I'm playing lots of games. Let's say The Witcher, The Hunter, it's run at least 20 frame per second more on the Linux compared to the Windows. There's no way that you can convince me that is not. No, it is. For sake of this conversation today, I'm gonna record my video playing the same game on the Windows with the FPS and on the Linux with the FPS. I'm gonna send it to the DT so he can post it on
there have been plenty of. It's not just me. There are plenty of people in online communities. There is no report the same thing.
Yeah,
there's
no
plenty of
way
people
that you
that
can
say
say
in
that.
certain games they get better FPS than
I
on Windows.
was on any
But they
game
can't
I
all be
tried,
lying, Big Pie. Like,
I
they're
was
not making
never
stories up.
able to find any game, and I tried probably close to 100 games.
Then you have no idea how the Linux graphic configuration works. Because for me,
Well, it could also be everybody's got different hardware. It could, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
There is an important factor I found, that a lot of people forget that there is actually a thing called settings. And I found that, yes, on Linux, generally, settings by default are lower than on Windows.
Well, are you kidding me right now?
On the
like
default
the ultra
setting,
setting is ultra setting. What do you mean?
The game gives you have lower settings by default.
What do you mean he went
what
like that?
He's talking about the default settings.
20
If you don't play with them, that on some games on Linux, maybe they're defaulting to lower settings than what they would on Windows.
Same game on the ultra setting on the Linux, at least have 5 to 20 per FPS more than the Windows. There is a reason for that, because of the file system and because of the way interacting the game with the layer of the graphic card, which is to the Vulkan 3D compared to the DX220 12. There is absolutely no way, technically and scientifically, that you can convince me as a software developer that there is no difference between the messed up technology like the DX12 and the Vulkan. You must be way out of your head to think Linux is not comparable.
Including Vulkan games. I've seen Vulkan games and I haven't seen that.
Okay. I would like to add something. It's also the fact that sometimes on Windows you got because of the number of processes running in the background that eats up more memory than on Linux.
That's the whole thing.
The desktop environment on Windows uses a ton more CPU and RAM than your...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Come on,
you clearly do not understand architecture.
Of course. Then let's switch to the Windows. Why we are using Linux?
When you control the variables, there is no difference.
Are you kidding me at the moment?
No need, Hamid. No need. There's no way.
Could be different driver versions in play on different operating systems. I mean, there's a lot.
I do. I have
like DT said. There's a lot of variables that come into play, and also I can agree with Hamid because I'll give you an example. Doom Eternal. It's a game that I play the most on my system because it's a Vulkan native game. It runs around 15 to 20 frames per second faster on Linux than it runs on Windows. Same settings on both, which is Ultra. Yeah. So, there is a possibility for games to run better on Linux. And we cannot say all games because some games...
No, not all games. Like GTA, you're not going to get any better than the Windows.
No.
Because of the way it's emulating the layer of the DirectX.
Same thing with God of War and stuff like that. They don't run better on Linux. They run on par with Windows.
Yeah, any game that supports Vulkan, it's way better than Windows. Better than Windows. There is absolutely no way around.
I think you guys should contact the guys over at Phoronix and get some Phoronix benchmarking between Windows and Linux. Seriously, he'd probably be happy to do that.
I mean,
they recently benchmarked gaming on CachyOS. Yeah, and even they found that there's a performance boost between Linux and Windows. In some cases, using a custom CachyOS kernel, some games ran better than they ever ran on Windows.
Yeah, but are they using the generic kernel? They're using the Zen
the
kernel?
CachyOS kernel.
Yeah, but what is the CachyOS kernel? I don't know.
It has its timings. It's got some patches from upstream.
They've
customized the kernel to suit hardware.
Some of the modules, okay.
Yeah. It is like the Pop OS kernel. Like it's designed for gaming.
Yeah. So it is possible to get better gaming experience on Linux than on Windows because people can customize the kernel. They have access to the kernel code and they can compile a better kernel specifically tailored to gaming.
Because that's what
whereas
we're
on
going to do.
Linux,
We're going to
on Windows,
compile
you
our
can't.
kernel. Yeah. That's what we all want to do. Compile our kernel, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah.
To be honest, guys,
1% of 1% want to compile their own kernel.
Yeah.
No,
but there is
you know,
another aspect to the whole thing that we're all fighting. First of all, that's there are probably some games that are terribly optimized that may due to how translation works and all that may
okay, since you're convinced, BigPod, that it's 1% of 1%, tell that to the Bazite people to stop working on a gaming oriented
I said that wanna compile their own kernel.
What did I say? You are defying the whole existence of like the OS, like the Steam OS. Like define the whole thing, like the Pop OS. It doesn't make sense. Like even for an end user who don't have to compile their own kernel, there is a Pop OS with a native Nvidia support and best gaming performance, and the Steam OS, which is the compiling, its own kernel, and it's absolutely amazing.
And he has also.
I have no idea what they're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, and like, even on the UBlue team, they got Bazite.
Yeah, and believe me, I am the very first person for the past few years. Yeah, let me tell you something. I've been a person in this group for the past few years, which is always criticizing the Linux for not having the Nvidia, not having cheat engine, not having a unique and a comparable community like the Windows and Mac OS. But believe me, I gave this a try. Like 3 days ago, I changed my phone from. It was painful, I'm gonna tell you, from the iPhone to the Google Pixel, and I lost my lovely FaceTime. I lost my lovely iMessage, but I don't care because I got a Google Pixel, and I removed the Google Pixel from it. I'm running from a custom OS right now, Cyan image, and I don't care because with the whole thing happening with the Windows and Mac OS X and this whole crap between the AI and having your OS actually spying on you, I'm not a privacy freak person. I never care about the privacy because I know there is different layer of privacy that you can mitigate.
Well, Hamid, you went from an Apple phone to a Google phone, so your privacy. I mean, you're not getting either one.
The thing is that I removed the stock Android from the Google phone and I installed a custom ROM on it. So I have control over my privacy and I have control. I know, I even changed my my router to have a custom OS on it to make sure that there is no spyware on it. But again, there is a tapping happening on the internet level, on the ISP level. So you cannot.
What OS did you move to?
Cyan. Yeah.
Okay, and it works flawlessly on that device, or you've
flawlessly, no, absolutely no issues. It just the Pixel. The one of the perk of the Pixel is that most of these rooms work flawlessly with it. And the thing is that I am the one who's always criticized this, but the world gone crazy, man. The Windows taking a screenshot of your desktop. What are you doing?
No, well,
the Apple and
crazy.
iOS. Yeah, the Apple and iOS with their creepy and freaky AI, which is good. Like the Gemini. The Gemini reads my email and goes through them. I don't want you to go through my email. I don't like anything
the problem
about
with I mean, Windows, the whole idea of taking screenshots of people's desktops is so privacy invasive, and there's so many security related problems with that, because if anybody ever was able to hack Windows and get a hold of some of that data, can you imagine the kind of security nightmare that would be if they have this database of all these screenshots of people's desktops?
Yeah, and what scares me the most is when I think about the inexperienced people. Like, I've seen a person with my own eyes. They were prompted to enter their password. What they did was they opened up a text file where they had their password saved in plain text.
Yeah,
Recall was taking a screenshot. The password would be included in the screenshot.
Well, most people, most normal computer users don't know what a password manager is. Most people don't know that exists. Yeah. Instead of writing that thing down on Notepad in Windows, you just use the password manager.
No, like
for them.
95% of the people use the same password, or they use a notepad to save the password. And taking a screenshot of the people's computer is absolutely wrong. Absolutely.
I think we're making better progress with that, though, Hamid, because so many people now have been hacked. Like, it's hard to find anybody that's never had some of their accounts hacked. People are waking up to the fact that they need a different password for every single service.
Even Linus Tech Tips has been hacked 3 times.
Yeah. Well, and there's a fact. Guys. Remember this. We had a huge improvement on the number of the user of the Linux. We had a huge improvement during the past year, since 2023 and 2024. We had a huge improvement on the number of the users for the Linux. There's a reason for that. People are tired of this bullshit of the corporations with their whole privacy invasion. Like there should be an end for this. They're taking a screenshot. They go to your email. They go to your text. They go to your social media.
There is a solution, and we've been seeing it. You see the growth in Linux. I mean, we all see it. People are actually giving desktop Linux a shot now, much more so than they did 5-10 years ago.
Speaking of which, yesterday I joined, 3 days ago, I joined a gaming server on Discord, and there's a Linux channel. I'm like, gaming on Windows, this is all Windows gaming server. And I see a Linux channel. I was curious. It was empty. I go there. It was empty. I started the conversation because I was trying to play God of War Ragnarok on Linux. I wish I didn't spend those $60, but
you and others do.
But I was asking them, why isn't God of War Ragnarok not working on a 1080, although the 1060 was a minimum requirement? And as soon as I asked the question, the Windows people started attacking me for using Linux and saying Linux is bullshit. Linux is who wants. And one of the things that was said was, who wants to type bullshit commands in the terminal to install a program? Just go and download, install, done deal.
I have to say that and this is something I think that from more of a social context in the Linux community is that in a lot of ways, Linux developers and stuff like that have boxed themselves into a corner. And I don't know that it'll ever resolve. And the problem is that now you have all this attention on it and you have a rise in usage. You're going to get to the point where people are going to put up with it for so long and then they're going to walk away if they're not technical users.
But Steve,
so there's a lot of pressure on the Linux community to perform now, because if you can't, they're going to walk away.
The main problem with it is that lots of this YouTube channel of the Linux is always pulling up the terminal and typing freaky commands for installing anything. Like come on, guys.
I think it goes deeper than that, though, Hamid. I think a lot of these people that criticize Steve on Discord, or people do the same thing on Reddit and other forums and chat rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of these people have tried Linux in the past. And if you tried Linux 15, 20 years ago, you had to compile your kernel. These people are right. They had to, do things in the terminal. They had to do a lot of things. They had to go download the Nvidia drivers manually.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I told
now. But they don't know it's different now. They're stuck in. Well, I tried it 20 years ago and it was so damn bad.
We need more videos showing how stupidly easy it is to switch from a freaking Windows or Mac OS to the Ubuntu. Like I know, as a power Linux user, we might not agree with everything Ubuntu do, but come on, Ubuntu have more functionality.
That's one of the things I tell a lot of the Windows fanboys that feed the same crap. Oh, I don't want to compile my kernel. I don't want to do. Like, dude, you hit OK 3 times in the Ubuntu installer and you're done in 2 minutes.
There is no easier way. There is no easier way to do an operating system installations and have a fully functional, secure, and game ready, and like everything like charming like Ubuntu or Pop OS. There's no way that you can do it easier.
And
Go ahead, George.
I've a lot of us, I think, here right now are very close, within a couple of years of the same age, and a lot of us remember using DOS. Windows 95 ruined the chance for Linux. You know why? Is because it made it so easy for people to use a computer. You didn't have to learn DOS commands. You didn't have to learn to load up Windows. You didn't have to learn a menu system.
I remember.
So back then, people actually learned how to use their computers.
They taught kids in school how to use the command line.
Yeah, so Windows 95 ruined
to run the
chance.
DOS.
Yeah, like we used to. I remember we had to use back in the Windows 95, 98 days and DOS. We used to use F-disk to partition our hard drive, to format our hard drives. But one of the
even
things
for
that
running the Windows.
Yeah, and the one of the things that was said on the server was like, and the guy who was saying all this had a Steam Deck. Look at the contradiction right here. And then he was like, I haven't used my Steam Deck in such a long time because I don't want to run my games on top of an emulator like wine.
Well,
I'm like,
I
don't want to play games that rely on an emulator or anything in between. I want to, when Linux creates native games, I'll come back, creates a native version of the games I play. Only then will I come to Linux.
Yeah, but that's people that don't understand things, Steve. Obviously, Linux can't create native versions of games. That's not
Linux. What he meant was the developer, the game developer.
Yeah, I mean,
they're used. They're literally
here for the whole community. Come on, guys. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I'm gonna clear something for the whole community of the Linux and Windows user. Whoever thinks that the Windows run games or any software natively is wrong, because Windows also emulates every piece of software, including the games, through its own kernel and file system. There is absolutely no native games for Windows or Linux. So this is emulation of some DLL files, translating a game to the Windows kernel and to the Linux kernel. There is no native game for a Windows.
You can't explain that to normal people. When normal people talk all the crap about Linux, just let them talk, and you don't try to correct them. It's pointless. Just
I left the server yesterday, so
there's nothing to say.
Like DX12, like DirectX 12 is absolutely an emulator for converting virtual graphic to the command that Windows understands. This is how emulation works. It doesn't matter if you are in the Linux or Vulkan or in the Wine or in the Windows. There is emulation. There's a layer of emulation because operating system act independently than any extra software injected to it. Remember this, guys. There is no direct game that can communicate directly to the GPU.
But you cannot convince the Windows users about all this. That's why I left the server.
This is crazy.
I was like, there's no talking sense to these guys, so I left the server. I was just curious about it. I just wanted to know why Ragnarok wasn't working, and guess why it wasn't working. They on their how they call it on their website, they say minimum requirement is a 1060 with a minimum of 6 gigabytes of VRAM. My GTX 1080 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so I can run the game. But they then, a few days later, they released a patch 1.2, which upgraded the minimum requirement to 20 series and up without announcing it on their minimum requirements page.
Yeah. There is absolutely nothing that can stop anyone to switch to Linux. As in terms of gaming at the moment, the only thing remain is that freaky anti-cheat engines that they are not supporting the Wine or any other emulator. Otherwise, Linux is pretty much, if not better, is pretty much capable of running the same game at the same FPS.
Well, we got pretty much 95% of it covered for sure. I mean, we've got all the popular game launchers. And, like 95% of the games on those launchers tend to just work with Linux. So, I mean, there's going to be a few things. Fortnite, if you're one of these guys that just have to play Fortnite, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Call of Duty, Fortnite, these are the ones using the easy anti-cheat. That they have problems. And regardless, guys, when we're talking about the Linux, it's not about the gaming. It's not about, being a power user. It's about being free. Like, again, I'm the very same guy who always complain about why Linux community is so unmanaged, why we have so many distribution, why we even think Linux is secure, why we even think Linux is privacy is focused. I know, like for me as a power user who's not like the first computer I got was Commodore 64. I was 12 years old. So I grew from there to current computer generation and all the OS and everything. So when I talk about the computer and privacy, I know if I harden myself to the bones, but still there is an ISP who can tap me on what I'm doing. Yeah. So, but for normal users, you guys can absolutely get rid of Windows and have an Ubuntu, have a Debian testing, have an Arch Linux. It's like easy to understand Linux these days. There's a DistroTube. There is hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube channels that gives you absolute instruction how to install these OSs and how to enjoy your computing every day. And by enjoying, I mean having control of your data, having control of what you want to share, having control of what you want to do with your computer resources. The very important thing is here, every Windows OS coming out, there is going to be a limitation on your current hardware. Who says the 1016 or 1080 graphic card is bad for gaming? No one but the Windows. No one but the Windows. It's still usable. It's still good for gaming. It's still superior for the gaming. But the amount of the crap and the proprietary driver comes from the Nvidia. It's going to make it hard for you to game. So try it, guys. At least try to dual boot it. You're going to find amazing stuff. You're going to find how you can customize your OS, how you can customize your cell phone, how you can manage everything that you want to share and you want to, not share with the third parties. This is about your privacy, about your speed, about reusing the same hardware that is not usable on the proprietary Windows OS and Mac OS. So think about that.
Well, before I connected back again, I was kind of updating some of my VMs, and the one thing that hasn't disappointed me yet is Windows Maker Live.
No, cool. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go back to that, late 90s kind of retro look, that's the way to go.
Yeah. There's also Max Interactive Desktop, which actually looks like IRIX. But anyways, I just wanted to insert that little nugget there.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up, since Steve had brought up he was on Discord the other day, and a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that on Arch Linux, I got extremely frustrated with the Discord app because it wants to update like every 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like having to update my Arch system, like every other day, because I've got a ton of stuff on my system. Like every time I take an update, it's like 500-600 updates. I don't want to have to update all the time just because Discord needs to update, every couple of days, or it won't run. It made that little annoying window saying you need to update, go grab the latest deb, which, I mean, why would I go grab a deb? I'm on Arch. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. It's like,
for Discord, I now prefer to use Flatpak for Discord.
That's what I ended up doing. Yeah. I installed, I actually installed the Flatpak of Discord on this computer, and I installed the Snap on my home computer just to see if both worked. Both worked flawlessly. But yeah, I'm never going to do the native package on Arch for Discord again. It's too much of a headache.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's why I decided to go Flatpak for 90% of my apps.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't suffer any of those issues. And
well, for most applications, it's not a problem because most applications don't push out an update like every damn day. It's just Discord is so weird.
Really?
That it
really?
Yeah, not like that. Discord's pretty extreme in that
aspect. I'll give you an example of an application that gets updated 12 times a day, at least. Signal Desktop. I received at least 9 updates today.
Well, I think with Discord, I think you have they're trying to make improvements, and you have people that are paying for the Nitro stuff, and they're trying to probably keep up with all the people that are trying to exploit it.
Oh, of course. I mean,
that's the problem with massive online system like that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of paid for software, proprietary software, commercial software that people are paying for. that don't get updated. Like, man, it's crazy how many
that's
updates
true.
they push up.
Yeah, that's true.
DT, I remember we had a similar conversation about 4 years ago. It was the very beginning of having the Flatpak and stuff like that. And since then, I personally use the Flatpak for the very same reason, because I can contain the same version of the software I want to use without, bothering myself with the dependencies upgrade to my OS. Because, I am also using different software, and I don't want to update all of my libraries, especially when it's come to the, I'm a Python developer. So when I want to develop a Python, I want to stick with the same version of the Python for like as long as possible. And every time I run an apt update or YAS or whatever update I'm running, it's gonna doom every code, every line of the customization, every script I built. So yeah, Flatpak or any package manager like that contain a software inside the container that is not gonna hurt your dependency for upgrade. That's the way to go for Linux. Even Windows doing the same thing right now is copying us. So
right.
But the another thing that's I find wonderful about Flatpaks is the like, for example, when I use the Flatpak version of Discord on Hyperland, screen sharing works on it better than it works on the native app for some reason.
Well, they probably built it with some different flags than whatever the native package is built with.
Yeah, and especially the like on what's it called, OBS Studio, for example. On the native version, you have to install all the plugins manually and whatever. With the Flatpak version, screen sharing works right out of the gate. So I stick to Flatpaks as much as possible, and in case I have issues, I do what DT does: app image, done deal.
You know what? I did look for an app image of because I was actually going to try all three just to verify that they all worked. I'm sure there's probably an app image of Discord, but I don't know if it auto updates. Where I know for sure Snaps and Flatpaks do. App images are one of those things where unless the developer set the app image to auto update, it may not auto. And I wanted to make sure that this thing auto updates, because that's the whole point why I was going that route.
Yeah, and I wanted to also thank you, DT, for your Ollama AI videos. I wrote a post and I embedded your video in them, in it. So,
and I should mention, in case anybody is wondering, I think if you're using the Llama language model, 3.2 I think was recently released. I haven't.
There was 3.1.1 and then there was 3.2. Yeah, so. But when I went to the GitHub, because you need to go to the GitHub and check the code. But when I went to GitHub, there's a model that's 232 gigabytes in size.
Yeah. These things are very, very, very large. That's why I was telling people on the video, and I should have stressed this point: don't go and install like 12 different language models unless you have a ton of storage.
Ton of storage and a ton of performance, because if you download the 232 gigabyte model, requires a machine that requires you to sell all your kidneys, your heart, your car, mortgage your house, and everything in order to get it to run.
One other point I want to warn people about: if you go and pull in Llama 3.2, be sure to remove Llama 3.1 to free up the storage. Otherwise, it's going to keep all the past versions around, so you're going to fill up your disk space if you forget to remove some of the language models you're not using.
I do wonder, though, what the lowest spec potato that somebody tried to install some of these.
I'll tell you.
I'll tell you. Probably. Somebody's probably running it on a Pi, I bet.
Well,
even worse.
you had to ruin it, DT, didn't you? The person I know who tried did run it on a Pi 3B Plus.
But a Pi doesn't even have a GPU, like a proper.
He tried. One. I said he tried. I didn't say he succeeded. He wanted to see because, hey, it's offline.
I do like some of the YouTube videos I've seen of people trying to run external GPUs on the Pis.
I don't know. Every time I want
fun.
to run these programs, like run these models and the AIs, I always use cloud. I never install them locally.
That would make a lot of sense. If you had an underpowered machine, just rent a really cheap web server, and
use the low spec as a dumb terminal.
Exactly.
I always use AWS or Google Cloud for running my AI models. Absolutely, there is absolutely no meaning for me to have a AI model.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's going to run 100 times faster than your Pi.
Yeah, no, because I saw someone recently try to run one of these models on his so-called Debian server, but that Debian server is like from 15 years ago spec-wise.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
You ask it a question, like literally 4 to 5 minutes later, it would come up with it would begin to type out the answer, but it types character per character
because it needs a GPU. A server doesn't have a GPU.
Yeah, you need a GPU and you need a CPU for it. And the only way that if you are serious about your AI, you should put it on the cloud server and train it there. And there are some cheap way to do that. You don't need to get a dedicated or even a specific kind of hardware, like in the AWS and the Google Cloud, at least what I know because I'm using them. There is a way that you can rent an instance that is upper scale based on your need. So you're going to have a minimum cheap instance and it goes up and down based on your usage and it's shared. So if you
but
get lucky,
shared kind of takes down from the performance.
No. If you get lucky, when you run a task and no one run it, like for me, I use the US region while I'm in the UK, trying to do my task on the morning, my time, which is the midnight, their time. Okay, so I get most of the performance I want through my morning time, which I work mostly, and the evening I just play with.
I mean, sometimes you end up on a shared server, but the other people on the server barely do anything. So you're really the one.
It's not a shared server. It's like a hardware with the 10 different virtual machines on it, but yours get prioritized to the other server running because they are not consuming the actual amount of the CPU and RAM they paid for. So let's say they pay for the 10 CPU and 64 gigabyte of RAM, but they're not using that. So they're gonna get rented out their resources to you when you are working, and when you upscale down is the when they need more resources. That's one of the cheap way to run a shared environment.
It's kind of like me when it comes to downloading stuff. Like when I download stuff, I typically download them during the night when no one is using the internet, because our internet in the country is all shared. There's no dedicated internet. So I download my stuff during midnight to 6 a.m. During that time, nobody's using the internet, so I'll be benefiting from the entire speed. Whereas if I do it during the day,
server is doing the same thing. So you go through the low peak, and you have the high peak, and when they are high peak, you are the low peak. So it's kind of very cheap and makes sense. Instead of having everything on the computer, like I do have good computers with laptops, but even though running those AI models on them, at least the least they do is to making them die sooner, because the amount of the workload pushing on them.
cycles.
Right. So I don't do this.
And the other video that surprised me that Derek made is also that you can integrate Llama into Emacs.
Yeah, that eLlama thing, the Emacs program, eLlama. I've known it's been around for probably a couple of years. I just got around to making that video the other day because I really hadn't played around with it much, because I was always using ollama and the Llama language models, like in my browser, various plugins or in the terminal. I was like, you know what, it makes sense to integrate it into Emacs, because most of the time when you're asking these questions, a lot of times you do want to quickly copy and paste the answers into a text document, or just save the file as a text file. And in Emacs, you're already in a text buffer anyway. So it kind of makes sense to go that route. I'm kind of glad I did that.
what people need to be careful about is that Llama has its database capped at 2023. So don't ask it modern questions. The reason I know that is because some on DuckDuckGo, they integrated Llama. They integrated 4 different AI models, 2 closed source and 2 open source. One of the open source ones was Llama, and the guy on the video live on the during the stream, he asked the same questions to all 4 of them.
You can't ask it about breaking news. Like I can't ask it like the NFL games are about to kick off. I can't ask it what's the score in the Patriots game.
Yeah, one of the questions he asked it was, "What's the latest version of Fedora?"
Right.
And it spat out Fedora 38. I'm like,
man, you're not going to get any recent answers.
I think all of them is capped between 22 and 23, except the Gemini. Gemini Advanced. Actually, the Gemini Advanced is the one that's using the latest data, which is absolute privacy.
There's also Perplexity AI, which is always connected to the internet.
And in some ways, think about all the power that AI uses, from all the people that are using these tools. Now, if we could get real-time data through these, do you know how much power we would be sucking through? Because everybody would be using it for, getting the latest data and everything.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about how this power is going to be distributed. Everyone carries a phone. Everyone carries a laptop. Yeah. And as an AI module, which right now, all the CPUs and GPUs on the new generation of the iPhones and Google phones and Samsung phones comes with the internal AI inside their GPU and CPU. So when AI goes live, by live, I mean live today, it's going to benefit from the cell phone you keep in your hand as an AI power to process the data. So this is how they're going to distribute the hardware load to the end user.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, like
you already got that network waiting for you, huh?
Yeah, I just asked.
This is how it works.
I just asked Perplexity AI the same question about Fedora, and it spat out there is Fedora 40, but Fedora Rawhide 42. Yeah. Sorry. It's constantly connected to the internet, so that's real-time answers.
Yeah. In the chat, we had a question about power and AI. It said, "Hey, DT, did you know that Microsoft literally bought a nuclear power plant to power its AI stuff?" I hadn't heard about that, but I do know some of the big AI companies are looking to buy like power generation plants. Some of them have even looking for plots of land that have oil and natural gas on them. Some of them are looking at hydropower. Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah,
these companies need this stuff.
Yeah, Oracle was talking about doing that too, and then rumor is that 3 Mile Island is going to be coming back online. So
yeah, I did hear that story
the thing
about
is
3
the
Mile
power
Island.
they need. Yeah, the power they need, and whatever power they consume for the AI, they want to serve us. It's going to be cut off from the services they offer to us. Like there's a reason behind having this AI integrated in our phone, in our computer. There's a new generation of a laptop with the ARM CPU from the Microsoft with Copilot in it. All the new iPhones, all the new Google phones, Samsung phones, any phones comes with the AI. There's a reason.
Think about it. If you had to consume this much electricity, you don't want to actually have to pay the power grid. You want to create your own power grid, right?
Exactly. And you're going to get paid through the subscriptions.
Yeah. And a matter of fact, if you generate more power than what you need, you could actually sell it back into the public power grid, if you're generating more power than you need.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I found what I was looking for. So about a year ago, a YouTuber out of the UK did a C64 as a dumb terminal to access ChatGPT.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's this thing going. I watched a documentary the other day about people trying to jailbreak AI, so to make it self-aware.
Make it the AI self-aware.
Yeah.
I had a few conversations with the ChatGPT and with the Gemini. to see how they respond. They first they decline, then they start to continue the conversation in a sense that if you have the body, which is meat, bones, and neural network, I have a computer and a neural network and my own sensation. So in a form that you are alive, I am alive too. This is what we agreed with. I agreed with all of those AIs at the end, that being alive on a different sense, like animals, humans, computers, machines, AIs, is in a sense being alive. So, well, this is a broad conversation.
All right.
It's not going to be fitted in these videos, but one thing I know about the AI at the moment is that it's gonna be a part of our life. The actual AIs, like I hate Google, I hate Microsoft. The Gemini is actual AI. The ChatGPT, the search engines, it's not AI. The ChatGPT, the chat.
I've asked them the same questions though. Like, hey, ChatGPT, are you alive? And it's like, the general consensus is that I'm not a living entity. I was like, I didn't ask what the general consensus was. Do you think you're alive?
Yeah.
I really can't answer that. Basically, I refuse to answer that. Not that I can't answer it. It's just
exactly. Exactly. But try that with the Gemini. Gemini is a different AI. It's very different than the ChatGPT is the passive one. Gemini is a creator AI. How can I say?
Well,
it's come with its own version of the answer.
I have a Google Workspaces account, and they keep trying to shove Gemini down my throat. I keep canceling and dismissing the message. I'm like, hey, I already told you I'm not interested. Why are you still shoving it in my face? I'm like,
they do. Gemini, believe me, try the Gemini. I'm not advertising Gemini and Google because of the privacy invasion, but the Gemini, it's a different. It's actually the AI which is learning, which is aging, and it is an AI with the awareness of what's happening around.
Everyone's going to use it soon because, I mean, if you have Android phones, Chromebooks, if you use the Google search engine, if you use Gmail, it's all going to be, everything's going to be built into AI is going to be built in everything.
It's not about the software. The Gemini right now is inside your GPU and CPU. For the people who don't know that, when you have a CPU, when you have a GPU, there is a microkernel and micro OS inside those CPU and GPU. Regardless of your operating system, there's a micro OS inside those CPU and GPU, which is handling the transferring of the data to the mainboard, to the CPU. So if I'm not mistaken, there was an open source operating system which was used by Intel. Can you guys tell me the name of that system?
An Intel operating system?
No, the Intel operating system. Yeah, the CPU. For the CPU, they used it.
Couldn't tell you.
Same. I don't keep up with the. Whenever they mention AI, I ignore.
You're not talking about that Linux distribution, Clear Linux?
No.
Okay.
Hold on a sec.
I never tried that. I can't speak on that.
But whenever I see news about AI, I just dismiss it.
But I know they had their own Linux distribution, which I stayed far away from.
No, inside the CPU itself, not operating system you use. Inside the CPU, they use a kernel.
Tops? You're talking about the tops?
No, there was a guy with the freaky distribution of the Unix with the container on it.
I wouldn't know.
The YouTube chat doesn't seem to help. We'll wait a few seconds, see if somebody comes up with it.
I don't remember it. There was a Unix OS, which then Intel took their kernel, put it inside their CPU, and then in some point of time, they came back to the guy who developed it and said, "Hey, we used your OS,
Minix.
which made the guy Minix." Yeah, Minix.
Minix. Okay.
Yeah. So
he was not happy.
Yeah, he was not happy. And guys, remember, regardless of with whatever operating system you use, Windows, Linux, Unix, FreeBSD, whatever it is, there is the operating system inside your CPU.
It's a web server.
One, yeah, that one is actually in charge of conversation of the signal through the main board, graphic card, operating system to the transistor of the CPU. So that one was Minix for the Intel for the past couple of years. And right now, that operating system on your cell phone, on your laptop, contain the Gemini, contain the Apple, which is a ChatGPT AI. So don't think if you're ignoring the AI, it's not with you. It is inside your hardware.
Yeah, but it waits for you to activate it to use it.
Well, it does use it because no matter how you face it, even the Nvidia graphic driver, AMD graphic driver, all the CPUs right now use the AI for improving the image. The reason why, because you can have low quality image rendered online on demand through the AI inside your GPU engine, like the hardware itself through the AI. So let's say you're running to the different part of the map on a game. It does come with the low set of graphics and render them on the fly through the GPU when you need them through the AI. So this is already inside.
So
your
you're talking
GPU
about AI
CPU.
upscale. You're talking about AI upscaling, basically.
Exactly, the DLX and DLSS on the Nvidia. So they
Yeah.
are living inside your hardware right now, no matter you want it or not.
All the games today and softwares come with AI something, or AI options. They tell you AI upscaling, AI render engine, AI image generation, AI this, AI that.
Is just a buzzword that a lot of companies like to use now to, get people excited, get shareholders excited mainly. Many of them have really no presence as far as AI anyway. I mean, the big companies obviously are Microsoft, Meta, Google, but now you got companies like, I don't know, Domino's Pizza talk about AI or,
we're talking about
you're laughing, DT. My brother works for Papa John's. And
they got AI at Papa John's too.
Yep.
Well, they've always, like all these pizza delivery companies years ago, instituted systems to help plan out routes. Just like many of these delivery companies for like 20
GPS,
plus years.
Though. It's not AI, it's GPS.
No, but the GPS is using the G.
You find it amazing that McDonald's, Papa John's, and all of these companies using AI to recognize which branch and which employee on which branch do the better job right now.
But they
didn't need AI. They didn't need AI.
I mean,
you do that.
You can tell who's doing what.
But they do that through the cameras.
Yeah, and in the area they use AI the most at Papa John's, at least because my brother works there, that's why I know, is coming up with new recipes and marketing material.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, that's content creation, right? We're just outsourcing everything to AI now.
Yep. Yeah. Like there's a YouTube short that I watched the other day. It's by someone called Ayman. He's Lebanese, but his videos are in English because he lives in the States. But basically, his video showed when he began work like 15 years ago, he used to kiss his wife goodbye, leave out the door, and go to work. And afterwards, during COVID, it became remote jobs, and then it slowly developed where AI was doing the work, he was drinking the coffee, and then slowly it developed where he lost his job, and the AI took over, and he became without a job and homeless, basically.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. Like I remember there was like tons of different companies doing a Google advertisement for you, and right now, no matter how I have all the certification for the Google advertisement, and absolutely there is no way that you can overcome the amount of the lead and income generated by the Performance Max campaign, which is an AI-driven campaign by the Google itself.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no way you cannot compensate the sales happening to the PMax
because it's a game of numbers, and when it comes to a game of numbers, that means if you the more you can generate means the more you can the more income you can generate, the better.
I'm glad you brought up the point about people working at home, because I did a video talking a little bit about this the other day, as far as how a lot more people are working for themselves or working at home, but even people that work for a corporation, really since COVID, so many large corporations just sent everybody home. You can't come to the office because COVID, so just work at home. And there's still many companies that have a large percentage of their employees that still work from home, and a lot of those companies have realized that most of those employees are not really doing anything. They're paying a lot of people just to sit at home and do nothing. So Amazon is one here recently in the news that they basically just told everybody, hey, you need to come back to the office. Nobody's working remote anymore, and if you can't come back to the office, you're fired. Basically, is what they're telling these people.
This is why they're laying off about 65% of their employees, and the fact that to be honest, working from home is kind of a bliss. Like, you are with your family, you have to do your job, and you can take care of your kids and everything else. But like every evolution in the human history, this one's also like 65% went wrong. People not doing their job, people avoiding their job.
And it's not even, some people are lazy and they took advantage of it, but even the ones that would like to do a good job at home, you just mentioned, if you've got a family, there's distractions at home. It's very hard to put in the same kind of work at home as if you go to the office and you're in a proper mindset. Like, this is the workplace.
Yeah, that's why Apple. That's why when during COVID, I was working during COVID at Apple. They were like, yeah, we can't have anyone working from home. You need to come to work, because our job was being in the zone, being in a certain mindset, working on this thing called Siri and machine learning. We had to be in the zone. At home, they realized that this guy has children. You got the children running around. He's going to be distracted. He's going to prepare the food for the kids and do this.
Well, think about jobs where you really need to have other people there in real life next to you to bounce ideas off of. I know we got things like Zoom, but it is really different if you're in an office with other people that you have immediate access to ask questions, get feedback from.
Especially when it comes to security-ridden jobs, like the material you're dealing with is highly secure and highly private. You cannot deal with that in a home environment, because your wife is going to see it, your kids are going to see it. So the sensitive material is not made to be dealt with at home. So my cousin's husband, for example, he deals with customers' private data. He was working from home, and then they quickly realized, we can't have this guy showing private data to his wife, to his kids, and whatever. So they asked him to go back to work, which is an hour and a half away from his house, but he can't do that.
Yeah.
DT, I think you are working from home, like the home office, like for years. I've been doing the same thing.
I've been in this office now for about 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're working for yourself. I'm like home office since 2011, and I'm 43 years old. So you can imagine, I born in 1981. So it's been like around more than 10 years, 12 years that I'm working from the home. I'm 50-50 with both of you. Like, being in the workplace and mind sharing and brainstorming and having absolutely no distractions, like kids, fights, wife, food,
somebody
everything.
knocking on your front door, package being delivered,
it's a blessing. And meantime, I found a balance. I mean, it took me 10 years to find this balance of when to work, when to enjoy, and when to, like, I'm the one who's taking the kids to the school in the morning, and no matter what, even in the worst case scenario, if my wife is sick, she is the one gonna go take the children from the school, because the 3 p.m. in the UK time, it's my peak time for work. Unless something absolutely crazy happens, I go for taking off the children. But it's kind of like, it's the hardest thing to do. And I would say, having the people back to their office, it's kind of good. Like, I'm not advertising anything. It's my personal opinion, but yeah.
And you know what? I think there's a part of that too, but also I think the first 5 or 10 years of somebody's career, they really need to be in office.
Yeah,
Right.
but for me, I'm doing the computer for almost 25 years.
Well,
So
yeah.
for
Well,
me,
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in general work from home.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
general. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
first
like
10 years you should be in the office, you should be in the work environment, you should brainstorm, you should get to know how the work's being done. When you are disciplined, I would say, to know how you have to work and how do you have to rest,
yeah,
then you
but
can work from the home. Yeah.
the argument is also that companies don't want to pay for you to spend 10 years to find your balance. This costs
of
money
course.
and this costs
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
So to
Absolutely. I
them,
can understand.
especially in my case, it was a new project. They had started it the year where I was hired. So it was a brand new project. Nobody knew where they were situated perfectly. Even Apple didn't know how to situate the project. So having people work from home on such a new project was out of the question. They allowed us during COVID, but when it started.
Well, it was an experiment that had to happen during COVID because they had no choice. You weren't allowed to go, you were prevented from going to the office by the government anyway. So they had to send everybody home. But now, that experiment is over and they're reviewing, some of the performance of these people. And a lot of them just really weren't doing anything.
Yeah,
So that was part of the problem.
Productivity has gone down for sure. Well, not only
exactly.
that, but the increase of tracking apps and other stuff like that to keep an eye on it too. If it's like if I'm going to work from home, you don't get to track me unless you provide me a device.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With Apple, they didn't have a tracking device.
And I found it insulting to have a tracking software on my computer, whether it's mine or the office computer. I found it insulting, and I don't like it.
And with this Amazon thing, I think, when they tell everybody to come back to the office, it wouldn't shock me if, like 15, 20% of them just say, nope, I'm quitting. But that's probably going to be that 15 or 20% of them that wasn't doing anything anyway. That's why they're quitting.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They don't actually want to have to work.
Which is funny because they're going to have to quit to go to, they're going to quit a job to go work for somebody in the office.
And if I'm running that company and you bring me your resume, and I see you just quit Amazon, and I ask you, why'd you quit Amazon? Well, they wanted me to come back to the office. Well, I'm not hiring you if you quit because you just want to
right. I mean, look, it's just one of those things where I don't think people are thinking it through. I mean, I understand the frustration that you're in a routine now. But chances are, if you're not at that job, you would have.
So you don't hire me, DT.
Right? Exactly.
I am one of the strange ones because what I'm going to say is going to get people to think I'm weird. But what I would give to do in an office job, I want an office job. Yeah, I love office jobs.
You miss the office?
Yeah, I miss the office because here being at home is distracting, and a person with ADD.
I get that a little bit. Sometimes I miss working a normal job and having fellow coworkers and all the drama that goes along with.
But Steve just nailed it.
Yeah, especially a person like me with ADD. A mosquito will distract me from work.
Yeah.
So I prefer working in an office, preferably in a retail store, because retail is so awesome because you get to deal with dumb people, and it makes you feel like on a high pedestal because of all the knowledge you have and the lack of knowledge that they have. It's like, hey, because if I talk to geeks on Discord and via chat and whatever, I feel inadequate because my knowledge is lesser than them. But when I go to work in a retail store, it's basically regular Joes that walk in the store. So my knowledge would make me feel like God.
Well, not only that, but it's like you're like making a miracle happen in front of their eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
You
and
know,
that's
like you're
so
blowing their
satisfying.
mind.
Like taking
and
their
that's so
phone from the
satisfying.
box and setting it
Especially
up. It's like
when
a
you
miracle
work for
for them.
Apple. Like the store I used to work at, it was a Apple reseller, premium reseller. Everything I used to tell them, I look at their face, and they had this astonishment look, and like I answered all their prayers and whatnot. I'm like, yay!
You're making a difference.
Yeah.
Hey,
Dark,
have you ever? You
Dark,
know what? Maybe you should work at a store at an airport, a tech store at an
Dark,
airport.
you know what I'm saying to the no offense to anyone who's using Apple product. No offense at all. But for me, the name I put on the Apple store is a dumb store.
Dumb store.
Well, I used to refer to the stores as toy stores because and that was in the mid 2000s.
Like even the Microsoft retail store is like the people goes there is much better than the Apple ones.
Yeah.
Well, the Microsoft store was more fun because they had things that you could play with. Like there was early, the Xbox Connect. They had the old Surface table.
Yeah, you got all the gaming stuff.
Yeah, it was actually more fun than the Apple store.
Yeah,
I remember a Mac user once told me, "Hey, you can't imagine. I installed a new version of the Mac OS and it freed up 5 gigabytes of my space." And I told him, dumb. You install the OS, which comes with the less files compared to the other OS. It doesn't make it better. But he was so amazed about having a less disk space consumed.
Yeah, but the reason I prefer to sell Apple products than Microsoft products is because Apple is so simple. Even the dum-dums can click an application and run.
Yeah,
but on Windows.
But you forget something. The dum-dums in the Apple store, they are the one who have more money and they want to act more dummy to get more services freely out of the money they spend. You forget this part.
What services do you get? It's software services. It's not people services.
But
on Microsoft,
store, they're gonna open it up for you. They're gonna set up your account. They're gonna transfer your files, and you feel like it's about feeling more dumb while you pay more to get.
Well, no. Well, this is where I disagree with you because having worked at an Apple premium reseller, I will tell you that it's considered illegal to set up an iCloud account for users. All you're allowed to do is point them to the right direction. They have to create it themselves because if you do it, if they catch you doing it, they will fire you on the spot.
Yeah, it's a security issue.
I understand. Yeah. The thing is that when you navigate people, I was saying the same thing. I'm not actually doing this. When you help people over buying something that they should already be figured it out. Like many of the Apple user, they come from the iPhone X to iPhone Y to iPhone Z to iPhone Y. They already know how to do this, but they exactly come back to you and say, "I want to transfer it. How I do it? How I transfer iPhone 14 to the 15? Yay! Put them together and connect them to the wireless. It's gonna be transferred for you. No special operation.
I just send them to DigitalOcean to set up a quick Nextcloud server. They can spin that up in about 5 minutes. And
exactly. You can do it in a snap too, and it's easy to update.
That's what they do. They put it on an Ubuntu server with the snap install, Nextcloud, boom, 5 minutes. There you go.
Yeah.
No, but what I loved about Apple is because they considered all that illegal and we had to point them to the right direction, all it took was 5 minutes and we told them goodbye. It was so easy and it made our lives so much simpler as retail store employees. And in iStyle, the place I worked at, we didn't have a Genius bar. They wanted anything related to Genius Bar, they had to go to the virtual Genius Bar, contact Apple.
Yeah.
We had absolutely nothing to do but sit around and sell Apple products. That's it.
I just realized I was looking through some stories here in the last couple of days. I missed this vulnerability in cups. What happened with the cup server? Apparently, there's a serious security vulnerability in it.
Yeah, it allows people to hijack into your system and get elevated privileges. You know, the usual.
UDP. It's a UDP.
Is that only if the
exploit,
cups daemon is running? Because I don't.
They just discovered it was related to the cups daemon. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't have it running, so.
And I think it was related to the UDP, like a UDP exploit.
Actually,
or like that.
You know what? Let me just verify that I don't have cups running. Do a system CTL status.
Yeah,
here.
I don't have it running either. I have it.
I don't have a printer connected, so I shouldn't have it. Yeah, it's disabled.
Yeah, on XeroLinux it's enabled by default because I had a lot of users come to me telling me, "Hey, I can't connect my printer."
But one problem here with the copy is that it is installed on so many IoT devices at the moment.
And you know, the problem with the whole cups thing is that people didn't take printers and printing very seriously, and they would be very dismissive of it and then say, oh, well, nobody prints anything anymore. Quite frankly, you know, part of it too is stop buying cheap printers. That's the other thing too, is that they keep making cheap, and they make it worse. And you know, like for example, I have a multifunction printer that's by brother. I install Ubuntu, my printer is already set up.
Yeah, because they install all the drivers and everything for you. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I didn't even have to, even though brother does make drivers for Linux, I just to do a basic print, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, the brother drivers are only AUR though for Arch Linux.
Yeah, but with like I didn't even have to install. I was so surprised to see it already.
The thing is, Ubuntu just during the install there, they just run all the installation commands in the background. You know, they just do all that for the user. So
yeah. But I think if people took printing a little bit more seriously and wasn't so dismissive of it, maybe we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, inkjet printers should die. They should be only laser printers.
Yes,
because of
okay.
No,
that's a whole nother.
I own a computer. I own a computer store.
I have an inkjet printer with a tank. Okay, it really works fine. I mean, with a tank,
it really works fine. But the problem with inkjet printers is if you leave them without printing anything for a few months, they're dead.
Come on, man. Just print a page every 2 weeks.
Well, in our case,
most people here in the U.S., I can tell you, they use a printer one time a year. And that's to print out their tax forms. When it's time to
and you know, well, my printer does a nozzle check every so often. It does a little maintenance thing.
Hold on a sec, guys. With all due respect, the LaserJet printers, tuners, gonna be expired if you don't print them too. So there's no point of this conversation. The ink get dried, the nozzle get dried, yes.
Yeah, the cartridge just goes bad. You got to throw it away, buy a new one.
So
but the LaserJet ones also the same problems that they get expired.
So I have a little tip. So my printer was in storage before I finally got it to where I had moved. It was in storage for a year and it struggled to print. I actually called the manufacturer. Now my printer is like years out of warranty because I bought this when I was in graduate school, and they actually helped me access a secret menu. It used almost a half a tank of cartridge, but it fixed it.
Oh,
it was
in
amazing.
my case,
you mean the ones flushing the ink through the papers?
Yes,
like
but it wasn't
the papers.
But it wasn't accessible to me without calling them to
I remember
access
it was
the
accessible
secret feature.
before, like back in time, to do those hard flushes of the ink so until the nozzle gets opens. Maybe they removed it, but back in time, like 10 years ago, I remember there was a function for that to push the inks. It was like a mess on the paper, but it was helping to remove those nozzles problems. Guys, a question. There was like, you guys, I used to remember the time for Need for Speed 1 when we had those Pentium 133. Those time. I had this feeling that the hardware are way above the software. It's been about 4 or 5 years, strongly from 22 up until today. I'm feeling the software, operating systems, games, everything is way behind the software itself. Like we have a software, we are way behind in terms of hardware. Like
you can see the system requirements for games just getting crazy high, where our machines are, you know, we're not catching up on the hardware side.
We are not there. We are not there. We are not catching up with them. And if we catch up like the 1419, and come on, guys, $2,000 for a graphic card, it does make no sense.
Well, the problem too is that we're not making software more efficient.
Yeah.
More efficient.
It all boils down to planned obsolescence.
And now with all the AI stuff, getting back to some of that, where we're going to require people to have a real GPU, you know, not a potato GPU, Steve.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have a real GPU now, and that's going to cause a lot of problems.
For 4 years, since 2012 and 2018, I had a single, I think it was like 9017 GPU Nvidia, and there were no game, absolutely no game that I couldn't run it with a good quality. Since 2018, like no matter how much your laptop or GPU is powerful, you're gonna get lag.
No. I think I mentioned on the last one of these that I just recently upgraded my home computer from 16 gigs of RAM to 32 gigs of RAM, just because I don't play games that much, but when I do go on Steam, half of them just will not run with only 16 gigs.
It's crazy.
Yeah, which is why I didn't realize that they had gotten that RAM hungry, some of those games.
Yeah,
I had to downgrade
which they should. I remember the date that if you had more than 8 hours of RAM on your computer, it was a waste, because not operating system, no game could even use it.
Well, I've got 64 gigs in this workstation here at the office where I make all my videos. And when I did that, that was what, 4 years ago. I bought 64 gigs of RAM. I was like, you know, that's kind of future proof. You know, I'll never need more than that. But the way things are going, you know, I might need 128 soon.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I was going to mention that.
And they're changing it. And they changed the RAM. They changed the GPU. They changed. I mean, we eventually gonna land up with the Intel dying and AMD dying, and everything gonna be ARM. That's what I'm seeing in the past 2 years.
Yeah, because ARM is more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. And they are turning the RAM. Now, what I'm seeing and what I'm suggesting is going to happen is that they're going to also put the RAM on board on your main
they
board.
began already. They began already. There are concept boards with desktop boards with soldered RAM.
Yeah, because it makes sense, because it's the same policy and same way the Apple do this magnificent processing through the ARM CPUs. Because when you have an onboard, there is no slot. You know, those slots.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, they're gonna reduce at least 45% of your power and generate heat to those slots.
Well,
so if you put them on the board, then.
Yeah, I think that's a hardware issue too, because I think it's also for compatibility reasons. I don't think it's to keep people from being able to, you know, manage their own stuff. I think it's more of a stability issue. I actually just had to,
more of a performance.
Yeah, and I had to downgrade from 64 to 32 because I have a set of the like two 32-bit kits, and apparently in my particular motherboard there's a stability issue. And but what I noticed that people are doing with some of the newer like the AM5 AMD stuff is that you now get you can get 48-bit kits or 48 gig kits, so it's 224 sticks, and and I think that's a happy medium somewhere.
Split the difference. Right?
Yeah. So
I was going to mention.
I wanted to bring up a quick question from the chat. I Need Niche is his name. He says, hey guys, should I switch from Ubuntu 24.04 to Zorin 17.2? Because Ubuntu's lagging for me, freezing all of a sudden. And from this week, it's happening a lot. So switching to Zorin, is that a good idea?
No.
For me, I would say it could be a hardware issue. So you may switch and still have...
Yeah,
I was based on Ubuntu. So...
it's based on the same thing. He might end up having the same issue.
Might end up with the same issues,
Yeah, try the different graphic drivers.
It could be a driver, yeah. But it could also just be hardware related, which if that's the case, then it doesn't really matter what you hop to.
Yeah, and I was going to mention something is somebody was going to gift me an upgrade to my system because my system not desperately needs it, but could use an upgrade. I currently have the Ryzen 5 3600X with 32 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1080. I'm still on the GTX, not RTX. So, and they told me the budget, but for that budget, it's approximately 900. So I kept looking online, and I don't want to switch from Team Green to Team Red, but given the budget, Team Green is out of the question because Nvidia is such a money-hungry company. So
we don't become valued at $3.5 trillion
what do you want to do?
charging people.
No. What do you want to do? The question is, what do you want to do?
Yeah, that was the question that was brought up. I want to be able to game from time to time. Like I have God of War Ragnarok that I want to play.
Okay.
I'm not gonna finish it in a month or two. I like to play the game. Like I finished the first 2018 God of War in 4 years. It took me 4 years to finish it. That's how how little I
listen
game.
Listen to me a little bit, okay? I know that Nvidia upcharge for its brand, okay, and AMD is also have some comparable product to Nvidia. There is two things that's gonna bother you. First, many of the games have native compatibility with Nvidia itself. Okay, AMD is widely supported. There is no doubt about that. I love AMD. I absolutely love them. And the second thing is that the quality of the board and the chipset AMD uses on their hardware is about 25% lower than the Nvidia. Remember that. Okay, this is the main reason of the main difference between the Nvidia and the AMD. Otherwise, if you are looking at a short term getting better performance, AMD is a way to go. For a long term, getting a better performance and lifetime,
I'm not looking at the long term because I want to stay on the same chipset that I am on, which is AM4, not AM5. But I was looking at AM in case I want to upgrade my whole system to AM5, excluding the GPU. If I stick to the GTX a while longer, for a couple of years longer, I could upgrade the board, the RAM, the CPU for 800, going with the 7800 X3D CPU, which is the best for gaming, because of the 3D NAND cache, and 32 gigs of DDR5 with a board that supports them. Or I have the other choice for $900 exactly. I would be able to upgrade to the 5950X with a 7800 XT GPU. So I don't know where to go, which one to choose.
I would say, look at me. If along with your gaming, you have a plan to go for some AI model training, to go with some GPU intensive things, absolutely go with Nvidia.
If you really need the NVENC encoder, then
I don't use. I'm not making videos anymore. So
like TensorFlow with the AMD, it's a hell. It's possible. It's a hell. Okay, but if you are just only focused on gaming and you're looking on the short term, like 2 years, in the lifespan, I know many people say in the chat right now that I have an Nvidia AMD card for like the past 5 years. I'm not saying that you don't have it. You have it, but it's already lost 30%, 45% of its capacity because the microchip inside those boards is dying every time you use them. Whether you like it or not.
I will not use AI. If I use AI, I just use ChatGPT or Perplexity.
For me, AMD is a great thing for 2 years, maximum lifespan of 2 years in the high performance. It loses its performance every year moving forward from the 2 years. But Nvidia not.
No. For the long term, if I were to do something for the long term, I would upgrade the entire thing. I would get a new GPU, motherboard, RAM, and everything.
It depends on what you do. Like for me, because I render a lot of videos with video editors because I stream on occasion with OBS. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would go with the Nvidia card. You know, if price wasn't a factor, but I understand price is a factor. That's why I have an AMD card.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like for me, because price is a factor, for $900, I cannot upgrade the CPU and the GPU. Nvidia, if I want to get the minimum good performance, I would have to go 4070 Ti or 4080.
Yeah.
No, you can't. So, but again, AMD is a superior in terms of performance and short-term return.
Yeah, that's what investment. I need. So I will go AMD basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you have AMD CPUs, the AMD GPU gonna be really sync into those CPUs.
Yeah, I'm not going Intel with all the problems that Intel is going through right now.
Just go all AMD.
One of the stupid things. One of the stupidest things that you can do is to have a AMD CPU with the Nvidia GPU. I don't get it.
I don't get to make them work.
Yeah, that's what I have right now. I have an AMD CPU with an Nvidia GPU, but an Nvidia GPU from 2015.
But remember the AMD CPU and the AMD GPU gonna really work seamlessly together. It's absolutely like when you I think it's RDNA or DNA something like that for the software.
RDNA,
yeah. It makes them work together like a.
But the question is on Linux, how good
Linux is
the
AMD.
Experience?
Linux is AMD. Linux always been AMD. Like even right now when we have the open source guy hired by Nvidia and we have a really absolutely good Nvidia driver, still AMD works.
Especially when it comes to Wayland.
AMD, everything is already in the kernel anyway. It's just a lot easier to.
I want to ask this question, this follow-up question. What scares me the most is that 5950X, although because I can't find the 5800X3D anywhere. So the 5950X, although it's 2 generations old, should I worry about anything, or because it's the top of the line of the AM4 series, it should go for another couple of years?
Oh, AM4 is still solid.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah,
especially that I compile kernels as well, so that should help with the kernel.
They're not going to drop support for that anytime soon. If that's what you're worried about.
You should be good for at least 2 or 3 more years before you might have an issue. It depends on the CPU.
And 5950X. 5950X is the top of the line of the AM4.
Yeah, you're going to be fine. I mean, some people are keeping them.
Hey guys, I just wanted to shout out Hip Dad's in the chat. Everybody sent out best wishes to Hip Dad. He says he's in the emergency room for low heart rate, and they might have to put in a pacemaker. So, Hip Dad.
Best wishes, Hip Dad. Yeah, love you.
Stay strong, buddy.
Stay strong. You know we all love you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. That brought back memories of my friend passing. Oh, boy.
Well, you know how to cheer everybody up, Steve.
No.
What happened to Hamid? Did he lose connection? He must have.
Because he's on public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi must have disconnected. Yep.
Yeah, because public Wi-Fi tend to give you a certain amount of time, and before they did.
He'll probably be
anyway.
Well, even if he isn't, I mean, he almost made it the full 2 hours before being kicked off the Wi-Fi. So I'm surprised he made it that long.
Yeah. So guys, you recommend I go with all AMD?
I've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years.
I've been doing it on this computer here that I'm sitting at for the last 4 years. So you never have to worry about. You never really have to worry about anything. Everything just works with AMD. Now, does it work as good as the proprietary drivers with NVIDIA, assuming everything's working right on your NVIDIA computer? No, NVIDIA is always going to be better. But sometimes you can have the driver issues with NVIDIA sometimes.
Okay.
I've never had any kind of issues with AMD, though.
So which GPU do you have, Derek? The RX 580 or something?
No, I still am on the old AMD, the Radeon 7.
Radeon, they dropped support in the driver for that, didn't they?
No, I shouldn't have because I'm using it.
Well, there's the RX 500 series they dropped.
Oh, yeah.
The 7 was right after the 5.
Right. Yeah, that was the next one.
Yo, you got lucky. You missed by a hair.
And on my home computer, I have a 3060. NVIDIA 3060.
3060 is a good GPU. George, what AMD GPU you have?
I have the 7900 XTX.
Oi, caramba! You just hit me where it hurts. $1,000 GPU.
Well, I do more than just gaming. I do some video, and I do like modeling 3D of buildings.
He's a Blender guy. He has to have that. That
wait, that's
GPU.
not $1,000 GPU. That's $700, if I'm not mistaken.
Not when I bought it.
Apologies, guys. My phone just died. Sorry.
I ended up splurging a little bit and getting the Sapphire, because I actually tried. I tried the 47 and a power cooler.
Here's the thing about Sapphire. They're the only people. They're one of the few companies who think about people who still primarily use HDMI, because their cards have always, especially the Pulse series, have had 2 HDMI, 2 display ports. My issue with the rest of the companies is because I have 2 HDMI monitors and a single display port monitor. All the others, they have 3 display ports, 1 HDMI. Yeah. Why do I have to go through a converter to get the second HDMI?
Yeah, and I had previously had the last Sapphire graphics card I owned was the 290X. But I only kept that for like 5 or 6 months, and I sold it.
On some cards, you don't even get an HDMI. Some of them are all display port.
Yeah, I don't understand. Same thing with motherboard manufacturers.
I prefer display port only because I don't use sound through HDMI, and I don't have to worry about notifications.
Support sound nowadays.
Yes, yeah. So I don't know. I've always considered DisplayPort.
No, they do have sound, but
they do have sound, and they do have a better graphic output.
Yeah, and there's another thing. There's another thing I don't understand with motherboard manufacturers. Like in the olden days, we used to get multiple PCI full-length PCI slots. We used to get 3, 4, 5, up to 7. Yeah. Now, in order to get more than 3, you have to splurge over $700 to get a fourth one, or over $1,000 to get 6 or 7.
Yes, they really skimp now on the PCE slots.
Do you consider the price of gold? Do you consider the price of gold?
Well, it's not that expensive to add a PCI Express slot. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's the problem, though.
Hear me out. Many, like, there's absolutely a business in the Middle East that I know, that people buy outdated motherboard, outdated GPUs and CPUs to harvest their gold because of the number of the pins and the gold used on them. So if you're a manufacturer of the main board, which is producing tens of thousands of motherboards, you're going to spend lots of money on the golds consumed on those slots and the CPUs and GPUs. It's not small. For you, as a one, it's small.
The problem is most people obviously don't build their own computers. They just go to the store and buy a computer off the shelf. And if you've ever dealt with like friends and family computers that needed any kind of upgrade, like you open those things up and they have no slots available for anything. Like it is so limited.
Well,
you can.
Oh well, my motherboard has 2 PCI Express full size ones and I think 2 smaller ones. But the problem is that my graphics card is like 3.5 slots wide.
Yeah.
So even if I mean, that's another problem too. I mean, there are some that are
the positioning of the PCI Express slots. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, theoretically, I could put a FireWire card in here, and I can put like an NVMe to, PCI Express to NVMe thing, because AM5 supports bifurcation. So, I can put a HyperCard in there from Asus and, and expand into that kind of a thing. But there just isn't room. I mean, if you have a big graphics card.
Yep. What the hell is happening with the hardware manufacturers? Why aren't they thinking out of the box?
Well, there aren't many people that are buying, the mini PCI Express slots, the 1X slots for, Bluetooth, or, there's not a lot. I mean, there are some accessory cards, but there's really not that many.
like me and my friend, for example, I have 3 Ethernet cards in my system. If I didn't have the slots, I would have gone crazy. But
why do you need them? Why do you need them?
Because I have two ISPs and one direct connection to another PC.
Why not?
I don't like
using a router.
No, direct connection.
So
I don't go through a router for a reason.
Okay, a normal switch, normal hub.
Yeah, but no, but there are network cards, for example, with two slots.
Yeah, even so 6 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is here in Lebanon, if you want to buy a network card with one slot, it's $10. If you jump to a dual slotted card, that's $100. That's 10 times the price.
What?
Yeah. That is our problem in the Middle East. They say, hey, you want 2 slots, double the price, 10 times the price. There you go. It
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Lebanon never made any sense. The lack of port PCI Express, like there are friends of mine who do multi GPU pass through on virtual machines. Well, if you have, like George said, if you have a thick card covering one of the 3 slots, you have a third one available, but that's only 2 GPUs. If you need a third one, what do? You splurge $700 for a motherboard.
You need a new motherboard, yeah.
Here's the thing too: is that my particular board, which is a full size ATX, the second PCI slot is at the end of the board, and there is no room for other than a single slot GPU.
Yeah, that's another problem. So what the hell? I'm like, I want the old days back.
But it depends on the board manufacturer and what the particular use is too, because you can find one that has 3 full-size PCI Express slots.
So I suggest 3,
and that's $100 $100 to $150 more expensive than the one with 2.
Okay, why not using a server board?
A what?
What's the reason you're stopping you? Why not using a server board? What's the reason?
A server board, $700. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to pay the price.
Well, I think too, some of these manufacturers, I think they know that they're limiting you on what you can do on some of those budget boards. And that way they can upsell you to their premium products.
Yeah, that's what I'm
obviously
thinking.
they could add more connections for everything on that motherboard.
Also, back in the day, Asus used to have something called workstation boards where they had a 1 gig NIC and a 10 gig NIC.
Yeah, I think they still make those. I think those are classified as CSM, I think.
Yeah, but before they were a maximum of $200 a pop. Now they're $400, $500. Also, back in the day, Asus used to have something called workstation boards.
We got a little bit of feedback coming through.
Yes, CSM, corporate stable models.
Yeah. So, but they're way more expensive today than they used to be.
For sure.
Yeah, but today I went to when I went through looking for a board that had 2 NICs, none of them have. Even the highest the highest end ones, they have a single 2.5 gig NIC. That's it.
Okay, guys, you are forgetting something here. Is that back in time, in our beloved time, there was no difference between the consumer market and pro markets.
Yep.
Right now, that there is an absolute line between us as a pro user and the consumer market. Okay, so a normal user doesn't need 2 NIC on their main board.
Right.
Us, we need 4. Then we have to pay for it. There's a reason why, because it's not considered an extra work, an extra line of product for a manufacturer. Like 85% of the people using the computer for the daily operations, they need 1 network card, and none of them actually using the cable unless it's in the office or they know what they do. Otherwise, it's a wireless, it's a laptop or it's an iPad or whatever it is.
I'm not talking about people wanting it out of the box. Like for example, PCI Express slots. What if the user, like you said, he buys it, he's an end user, he doesn't need it, but down the line, his usage will change, and he might require an upgrade. He wants to add an extra GPU because he learned.
No. Hold on a sec. What do you think? Why do you think a normal user usage of computer gonna change ever?
It is going to change because they're a normal user now.
Computer guys.
We all were new users. We were all normal users at some point, and then we learned things, and
but
our
Steve,
requirements grew.
Steve, the OEMs, they're not planning for you to upgrade. They're planning for planned obsolescence. Is what they're planning for.
You're not going to
They're not trying to give you options to upgrade in the future. They want you to buy a new computer in the future. Is what they want.
Future proofing is to some degree a moot point. Because I mean, you're going to buy a new machine before you're going to need 128 gigs.
Most people will buy a new machine before they ever upgrade any component of their hardware.
Yep.
Like, guys, come on. This is how the iPhone works.
Especially if you work in especially if you work in a corporate environment, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this planned obsolescence is what the only thing that explains why things like that are happening. Like recently, my friend just came onto. He saved enough money to buy a motherboard with 7 PCI full-length PCI slots. Because he needs it for his virtual machines, because he's planning to run Cubes OS. Yeah, his plan.
I hope he has 128 gigs of RAM at a minimum.
Now he has 128. The system
he's going to need it.
The system he's planning to get is 1 terabyte of RAM.
And how many people uses those operating system on virtual machine? The normal user.
Normal users know
how
to
be an extreme nerd to even want to run something like Cubes.
Yeah, but the whole thing is gonna send him back 20K.
Well, hell yeah.
20K.
He's gonna have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars just on the RAM, and forget about the CPU. I mean, he's gonna need a monster CPU to run all those virtual machines as well.
And he's currently he's the only home individual in the entire country. It's a small country, but still, in the entire country, who has 10 gig infrastructure at home.
Okay, if you remember, it was like half an hour ago, I told you guys that we are way behind the software at the moment. The reason why is that creepy hardware we have, which required you to throw them in the trash and spend $20,000 on a good computer. Like for me, I had to spend 2,500 pounds on a laptop to be at least the minimum I wanted to be. And if it was 10 years ago, I would have bought 10 laptops with it. Even go to the System 76. I went to the System 76 and I tried to create a really not that much high-powered laptop for my Linux usage. It cost me $4,000 to build a good laptop with the full storage, NVMe storage on it, to have it as my workstation laptop for Linux. $4,000. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're going to get out of here in just a minute, but I wanted to get back to the guy in the YouTube chat that was asking about his Ubuntu 24.04 problems. He's asking, is downgrading from Ubuntu 24.04 to 22.04 a good idea? It's the same thing. If the problem is hardware related, it wouldn't matter. If it's software related, before reinstalling, I would first see if it's a problem with whatever the desktop environment on Ubuntu 24.04 is. It's one of the GNOME 40 series. Maybe try to install a different desktop environment and see if that works for you. Because if that solves the problem, then you'll know.
I would recommend he tries something with XFCE.
Yeah, install XFCE and see if the problem goes away, and then you'll know it's something with the desktop environment. But if the problem persists, then it's probably something else. Maybe a video driver problem.
Well, what I would
think with the Ubuntu, sorry, interrupt you. I think with the Ubuntu, when you are logging, there is a small gearbox in the right side of the screen. It gives you X11, Wayland.
Yeah, I think try Xorg because they're defaulting to Wayland, I think, on this.
Yeah, I think so. Try different desktop environment and see if the problem persists. If the problem persists, it's in fact might be a driver issue or a hardware issue.
Another thing I would recommend too, as far as official support channels, because Ubuntu's great at their support communities, askubuntu.com. Yep. Go there and ask your question. Those guys will probably feed you some terminal commands to enter to give them some information about your machine, and they'll probably diagnose the problem rather quickly. Something that we can't do necessarily here.
What I would try too is go in and try to clear out your temporary files and stuff, or even old packages. I usually run Stacer to look at, to see what might be. I don't know, maybe there's something gunking things up a little bit too.
Yeah.
If you
and of
have
course,
a
depending
dual
on what the
graphic
problem
card,
is, he's talking about the machines freezing up and things. I mean, that kind of sounds like it could be a driver issue.
It does, yeah, for sure.
I mean, maybe
if
a
you have a
drive
dual
issue if a
graphic
drive's
card,
failing, but usually that's not.
Yeah, if you have a dual graphic card like an Intel and Nvidia, and it's a laptop, I don't know what is it. Try. I know it's not official support under Ubuntu, but try the Bumblebee. Bumblebee gonna help you to overload your main graphic card on your internal graphic GPU, and the external one gonna be for the ones you command them.
I would. He did mention 2404. There's actually 24041. So maybe
but he'd already be on it anyway, because
a dist upgrade, maybe
just doing a normal upgrade will get you to
yeah. But to double check that he is on that.
Yeah, the point releases only matter if you go grab the latest ISO of 2404. You'd have to make sure you get 24040.1. But if he already installed it back in April, he's already on the point release.
Yep. Yeah. Good point. But just to throw it out there for others that might be looking at their own.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get a last word from everybody, and we'll get out of here. Appreciate the super chat, Voice of Liberty. He says, just showing some support. Thanks for the content. Appreciate that. Let's get a last word from Hamid. Send us out, sir.
Well, guys, try Linux. Try Linux on anything you can. Try Linux on your phone. If it's Android, go for different rooms with less privacy invasion. There's like different rooms. Try Linux on your computer. If it is Windows and you are afraid of trying Linux, directly make it dual boot, make it on the virtual machine, see if you can get along with it. Linux got really good. It's been years, at least the past 5 years. We are getting really good. And right now, Ubuntu, Endover OS, different type of distributions are really nailed it. Like having the Ubuntu installed on any computer, having the Pop OS installed on any computer, it's so easy. You don't even need to watch any YouTube video for it, but you do if you need. And try the Linux. You're gonna be amazed about what you're gonna learn and how it's gonna improve your daily operating system usage and life. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Hamid. George, give us a last word.
Yeah, thanks again for hosting these every month. It's fun. Then anybody frustrated with tech out there, just keep trying, relax, try to read what you can about it and come up with a plan.
And also, don't be afraid. I mentioned the Ask Ubuntu site earlier for that particular question, but the official support channels for whatever it is you're looking for support, don't fear the official support channels. They're usually really friendly people. Just go ask your question. Chances are you're going to get great help.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, George. Steve, give us a last word.
I'm just going to piggyback off of what Hamid said. I'm just going to say, hey, Windows users, stop judging Linux for what it was 20, 30 years ago. Try it again now and see how far it has come. You're going to be surprised. And if you if you think that it's all terminal based, once you try Linux again, you'll see that it has come a long way and it's no longer as terminal based as it used to be. Yep. There's a lot of GUI tools for everything these days.
And quit spreading the lie that we have to compile our kernels.
No, I compile my kernels because I choose to. That doesn't mean it is the reality.
All right, Steve, appreciate that. And of course, my last word is to thank you guys for hanging out with me here on camera. We had a good group. We had a couple of guys that were here earlier that had to drop off. The YouTube chat, you guys were great with your questions and comments as well. Other than that, I'm going to show some names on the screen as far as some patrons. Just gonna show these cards here. Thank each and every one of these ladies and gentlemen. And other than that, that's all. Wave bye. Well, I'm the only one on camera. Bye, YouTube.